Hey everyone, what's going on? My name is Kenta from American Hakko Products. Today I'll be introducing a brand new soldering station. Very excited. You guys are the first ones to take a look at it, so make sure you stick around. All right, welcome back. So like I said, today I'll be introducing a brand new soldering station. It's called the FX-805. It's a 400 watt ultra heavy duty soldering station. First ones to see it, you guys right here taking a look at it. It'll be out, released to the market October 3rd. So make sure you pay attention. There's a lot of stuff to cover that I want to go over today. So grab a seat, get comfortable, and let's get right into it, all right? Now with the new FX-805 and the FX-8004 handpiece, you are now getting 400 watts of power being delivered through the tip to your solder joint. Like I said, there's a lot of information. I'm gonna be going over the station, improvements to the station, a new iron holder that you see here, and there's also a new Hakko Control Software that I want to get into the details later on. So make sure all of you stick around to the very end. Let's get started off with the station itself. So you'll see there's on the up button, there's a preset. On the down button, it says offset. On this enter button, you see temp. And on this back or return button, you see sleep. I'll get into what each of those buttons will do on your station in a minute here. So let's just go ahead and turn the station on. The station itself, 460 watts of power, like I said, but the set temperature you can set anywhere from 50 degrees Celsius all the way up to 500 degrees Celsius. In Fahrenheit, I believe that's around 120 degrees Fahrenheit all the way up to 940 degrees Fahrenheit, okay? And now going back to the display, you'll notice right away it's different from what current Hakko users are used to. Current model or the previous model on the FX-801, you would just have a single display that showed you the set temperature. Now things are a little bit different. We made improvements. Down here on the bottom, you see 750. That's my set temperature. And up here, displayed in large numerical values, that is my live sensor temperature. I just sometimes call it my live temperature, but what that actually is it's the sensor temperature being displayed in the large numerical values here. The temperature is displayed in units of Fahrenheit. And that P3, what's that P3? P3, it means preset number 3. I have it set to 750. So let's start there. The button all the way on the far left, it says preset. If I press that, you'll notice that the preset 3, the P3, it'll start to flash. And guess what? If I keep pressing the down buttons, I can go to preset 2, for example, which is set at 660 Fahrenheit. I keep pressing the down button, I go to preset 1, which is set to 500. Preset 5, I have it set to 940F. Preset 4, I have it set to 840F. And back to preset 3, I have it to 750. So preset, by a quick press of the button, I can change my set temperatures. A real useful feature when you want to change your set temperatures. Now that's one way you could set your temperatures, by using the preset feature. All you have to do is enter and program the different temperatures into preset 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. You can program up to 5 different presets into the FX-805. Now the other way you can change your temperature is the more, I'll call it the traditional way, where you can press the temp button, right? It says temp, so guess what? You press that, guess what it does? You can change your temperature. You'll notice that the temperature icon will appear on the left-hand side of your display, and your set temperature, it'll start to flash, starting with the hundreds digit. And once that starts to flash, you can use the combination of up, down, and enter to change your set temperature. So for example, I want to go from 840 to say 660 Fahrenheit, for example. Right now from the 8, I want to change it down to a 6, so I'm going to press the down button once, twice, hit the enter button right here, and then it'll move from the hundreds to the tens digit. I'm going to go from 660, so from 4 up once, twice to a 6, hit enter, and since that's already at 0, I just press enter one more time. And that's how you can also change your set temperature. Now, what the preset feature does is it'll allow you to press the preset button, right? Select whatever preset value you want, hit enter, and you're done. It makes that process a little bit easier, less buttons you have to push along the way to get from one set temperature to the next. Again, all you have to do is program the different temperatures into the presets 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Again, very nice feature. Now the offset feature. The next button to the right is the offset feature. If you press that, you'll notice that there's a plus or minus icon that'll appear on the left-hand side of your screen, and it says 004. That's the current offset value that has been entered into my station right now. Now, when do you use the offset feature? You can use the offset feature when you have your set temperature and you compare it against your measured tip temperature. Now, when you're using the offset feature, you always have to have some kind of tip thermometer that you can take measurements of your tip temperature, right? Don't use one of those IR thermometers because they're not really accurate when you want to measure the tip thermometers. And offset, you can get your measured tip temperature and your set temperature closer into a tighter window if you choose to do so. Those are for people who verify your tip temperatures on a daily basis. So I'm gonna go back here and bring this 004 down to a 0 offset currently right now. And let me change my preset back to 750 and wait for it to cool down a little bit. What I'm gonna get into right now is another unique feature that you'll see on the 805, and if you use it with one of our tip thermometers like the FG100B or even the FG101B, you'll be able to offset your values, or we like to call it auto cal feature. You can do that wirelessly by using the FG100B or the 101B. And I'll show you what I'm talking about now. So I'm gonna turn on the auto function on the FG100B, and I'm gonna go ahead and grab some solder, and I'm gonna measure. This is a T33 D5, by the way. Measure my tip temperature. And I'm gonna wait for the thermometer to stabilize, because that's what the auto function does when using the auto function. It gives you a measurement of when the actual tip measurement stabilizes. So I'm now 765. Compared to 750 on my set temperature, it's within plus or minus 15, which is actually really good. But if you want to get it within a tighter window, you can. If you use the FG100B with the FX-805, you can send that information wirelessly. There's this send button, right, on the FG100B. And as long as you're entered into the offset mode on the station, check this out. I send that information. Now that information is set and the station is automatically adjusting, or it's automatically calibrating itself so that the 765 is now going to drop down closer to 750. And guess what? If I go into the offset, that minus 15 value is automatically input, or wirelessly I sent that information into the station itself. So give it a few seconds for the tip to adjust itself, And I'm gonna go ahead and take another measurement here. Right, I'm gonna turn the auto function on the FG100B. And take another measurement. And I'm gonna wait again. Till the temperature stabilizes. So the temperature this time stabilized at 738. That's a little bit closer. Before it was plus or minus 15, now it's plus or minus 12. You can get it closer and closer. You just have to repeat this process a few times. The whole point of it is being that you can send that information wirelessly now. You don't have to go through and enter that value like you had to do on our previous FX-801 model soldering station. So that's that wireless capability that I wanted to show you on the station itself. The very last button that you'll see on the face of the station is the sleep button, right? Guess what that does? It also acts as a going back button, but if you press this, you can force it to go into sleep mode. Now, if you want to wake it up, you can press it again, right? Or you can simply pick the station up. There you go. And it'll wake up. The other way the station or the iron will go into sleep mode is if you place your iron into the iron holder, and after the amount of time that you have programmed into the station, in my case right now I have it set to 3 minutes, but after 3 minutes, then the station will enter the iron into sleep mode. So there's now two different ways you can put the station in sleep mode. One is by leaving the iron into the iron holder for that given amount of time, or you can simply press sleep on the station itself. There's another big improvement that we made that'll be coming out with the FX-805, and that's the iron holder. The iron holder that you see here. Now let me move that. This is our new iron holder. And with the iron holder, you'll notice that's compared to the previous FH200 iron holder, it's a lot more bulkier. But at the same time, what that means, it's a lot more sturdier, right? It doesn't move around when you put it away in the holder, right? Then you'll notice there's no cord in the back for the sleep feature. So we eliminated the cord that connects the station to the handpiece, so there's no more need to connect the cable, because God knows there was a lot of people that just unplugged the cords and weren't using the sleep feature. Now you don't have to connect the cord. Everything is done with the station and the handpiece and the iron holder itself. And if you take a look, I'll show you behind on the back side of the iron holder. Boom! Take a look at that. Few more slots for tips. For many years, we had comments from our customers that, hey, we would like to see tip storage on your iron holders. You know what? We have tip storage on our iron holders. Hallelujah, right? You can use up to, there's different functions for all these slots on the back. And I'll show that as I'm talking about the iron holder, but you can store up to 4 different tips on the back of the iron holder. Now, if you go back to the front of the iron holder, there are a couple different, I'll call them slots, that you'll see on the iron holder. One's on the right-hand side and one is on the left-hand side. What those slots allow you to do is, while the station is hot, or even while the station is hot, you want to always make sure the station is off when you're replacing your tips, just to be safe. But even when the tips are still hot, you can use the slot on the right-hand side. It fits in just like that, and then you pull back, and then you'll be able to remove your tip. And using the very right corner tip storage slot, you can put in a new tip and turn the station back on, right? So you can do all that with a hot tip. That is a big improvement. That is a big improvement compared to how we had to change out the tips previously, because previously we would throw in a heat resistant pad, for example, right? And then you would have to grab the heat resistant pad, grab the tip like so, remove the tip, place the tip somewhere else, and then grab a new one, and then put it in just like that. That was our old way of doing things. But now, like I showed you earlier, use the slot on the right-hand side. So the right-hand side is for standard tips, and the left-hand side is for if you're using any type of N2 or nitrogen nozzles for your application. This is for your nitrogen nozzles to remove. The right-hand side is for your standard non-nitrogen usage. You just grab the tip, remove it, go over to the slot, place it in, and easy. Nice, safe way for everyone to replace or exchange tips when you want to work from one tip and you want to move on to the next tip. It's a nice, safe, easy, fast way to remove the tips. Now, before I get into the system parameters, before I get into the Hakko Control Software, let me get into a little bit of a demo demonstrating the difference between the T33 tip, the power you'll see on a T33 tip compared to a T37 tip that the FX-805 will use. It's called the T37 series of tips, and those are the tips that will be able to deliver 400 watts of power to your solder joint. Now, you can still use T33 series of tips on the FX-8004 handpiece and the FX-805 soldering station. Just know that when you're using T33 tips on the FX-805 and the FX-8004 handpiece, you're still only delivering 260 watts of power through the handpiece, through the tip, to your solder joint. I have this very large, inductor coils. I'll start off by showing the T33, how much time it'll take with a T33. So I'll put that there, put that in there, and I'll have that ready for next time. So right now, I have a T33 D6. I don't know if you guys can see that, but it says T33 D6. And what I'm gonna try to reflow are these large, copper coils that's already been soldered, right? I've already soldered them onto this board, and I'm using a T33 D6, 260 watts of power, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. About 8 seconds there. So let me go to this one. Let's try this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So again, maybe about 8 seconds. And that's with the T33 D6 tip, right? Now I'm gonna put that away. And since this board has already been heated up, I'm gonna put this one aside and use a different board. It's similar, it has the same type of copper coils in the back. And let me place the T37 D5. I'm gonna remove the tip here. So again, if you want to show it here, this is the removal. insert, easy step. And let me just wait for it to reach my set temperature of 750. And as it reaches set temperature, I'm going to wait for it to cool down a little bit. But one thing I want to bring up is, anytime you're dealing with that amount of wattage, right, for a soldering iron, 460 watts to the station, 400 watts to the handpiece. Anytime you're dealing with that amount of wattage, when you're talking about a soldering iron, we usually see massive handles or handpieces when we're trying to deliver that much power to the solder joint, right? You see these handpieces, that are size of large screwdrivers, for example. But take a look at our handpiece, the FX-804, light, ergonomic, slender handpiece. It only weighs about 58 grams. You're not dealing with these massive handpieces that you have to carry around. Very nice to work with. Now that it's set to 750, I think it's cooled, settled back down a bit. So let's do the same. I like to do the same type of test. 1, 2, 3, 4, about 4 seconds there. Let's take the one farthest away. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4 or 5 seconds. Whereas before with the T33 260 watt tip, iron and tip, took maybe about 8 seconds, as you guys saw. But with the new T37 400 watt tip, took sometimes half the time, 4 seconds, 4 to 5 seconds. From my experience doing these sort of experiments, I see roughly about a 20 to 25% improvement when you're talking about the amount of time it takes to going from one joint to the next, comparing the T33 to a T37. Now, I like to show people using a solder bar because this is very, very, I like to show this demo. It's interesting. This is a SN995. It's a lead-free solder bar. It's a complete solder bar. Okay. Now, I'm going to start off this time with the T37 D5, set to 750. Again, 750, T37 D5. Okay. There we go. There we go. And as I'm melting, you guys seen this? I'm able to melt this bar of solder with this 400 watt tip and iron rather easily. Now, if you take a look also on the display, you'll see what my sensor is actually doing. I have it set to 750, but once I hit a large mass, it'll drop down. It'll drop down to maybe 730, sometimes around 710, it'll recover. And see how quickly it is recovering, all right? Now again, this is all with the T37 tip, okay? And I'm able to melt that solder, no problem. Bar of solder, no problem. I can do this all day and melt the entire thing. Now, as a comparison, let's go back. I'm gonna go back. Let me put the T33 tip in the slot. And I'm gonna remove my T37. Change it with the T33. And let me give it a few seconds for it to reach temperature. And since I've already melted one side, I'm gonna flip it around and use the other side. And it's getting up to a set temperature of 750. It's T33, so it's only going to deliver 260 watts of power. And here I go with the T33 D5. Remember, it's a It's a 260 watts of power. So here we go. Now I'm doing the same type of motion. And I'm trying to melt this part, and it is going, but you can tell, I can tell, and I'm sure you guys can tell by the way it's melting that it's a little bit slower compared to the T37 tip. And that's where the extra wattage comes into play. And also, I told you guys to take a look at the display on the station itself. You can tell, with the T37s, when I was doing this, the temperature, it'll drop, down anywhere to, 709. Sometimes it'll be close to 700, but it didn't really get back down that far from 700. Whereas if you take a look at this temperature, the more I melt it, it continues to drop. And that's because the solder bar is taking away the heat from the soldering iron. It's right now it's at 620. And it's not recovering as quickly as the T37 series of tips and the 400 watt iron. Now, and so that's the difference I wanted to show you. Not how fast and how easily, not only how fast and easily I can melt the solder bar, but the reaction from the sensor when you take a look at the display, how it's reacting. The T37 maybe drop to about 710, 700, but it'll also quickly recover to 750, whereas when I'm using the T33s, it'll drop way below 700, and it's gonna struggle to try to get back up to the 750 set temperature range. So that is the demo that I wanted to show everyone here today. I get asked sometimes, so who needs that much power in a solder station anyways? It is a niche market. There are customers that require that much power. There's customers who build these large machineries. An example is like a large MRI machine that you see at hospitals. Those require large amounts of current that are being used up in the machines. And when the machines use up large amount of current, the internal components on those machines, guess what? They are assembled or built with large components, whether it be large wire, cable, and harnesses, or large components overall, large boards. They require that much power for you to solder, say, a large capacitor, for example, or large inductor coils. They require a heavy amount of power, and a regular soldering iron or even a heavy-duty soldering iron just won't cut it. Other types of applications are the electric vehicle markets, when customers have to solder down these large battery packs, solar panels, right? The components that you need to build these large solar panels that also deal with high currents. Those are the types of customers that will need and that will find the 400 watts of power not only helpful, but necessary as well. Now for the next portion of it, this will be the latter half of this show for today. I'm gonna go over the system parameters on the station itself, and I'm also gonna go over the Hakko Control Software because they're sort of related. So I'll get into that right now. What's great about the FX-805 is that it comes with a Hakko Control Software CD that you can download onto your PC or computer. You can also download the software through our website, HakkoUSA.com. And it'll take you to the knowledge base and you can download it through there. But what it does is you'll have access, so you'll be able to use the Hakko Control Software app. And I'll show you what that app will help you do. I have that Hakko Control Software downloaded onto my tablet here. And first thing you want to do is make sure your station is on, obviously. And I'm going to open up the Hakko Control Software. And from there, it'll give you a selection FX-805 or FX-305. I have the 805 connected there, so I just click on Start. And here you go. This is the main window of the Hakko Control Software. You'll see up here it says Hakko Control Software. It has the FX-805 connected, and you'll see a variety of different things. Tip type. Right now I have the T33 tip connected. Status is running. Output mode is in power mode. The offset is set to 0 degrees Fahrenheit. I have it set to preset 3, which is set at 740 degrees Fahrenheit. My current sensor temperature is at 740 degrees Fahrenheit. And all of these are my preset temperatures. Preset 1, 530, preset 2, 660, preset 4, 840, so on and so forth. And you can see now that the station went into sleep, so that on the control software also the display is now in sleep. And when I hit or click on the preset number 2, guess what it does? It'll change my temperature from 740 to 660, right? Again, you can do all that through the station, and you can also do that through the Hakko Control Software as well. Over here on the right-hand side of your screen, you will find a graph. That red line is actually the sensor temperature that it's graphing out. You can select to auto save it, where it'll always be recording that and saving that information, or you can start and stop record as you choose to. Okay, so that's the main screen on the Hakko Control Software, right? Now going back to the Hakko Control Software, you'll see a few different icons right here. Starting off to the very left, you'll see this temperature icon and also say temp change. If I click on that, it says temp change. What do you think you can do there? Yeah, you can change the temperature of your soldering iron, right? You can either use the up and down buttons like you would on the soldering station, or you can also grab the this bar and move it from anywhere from 940 all the way down to 120 and make your selection. Right now I'm at 660, so say I'm going to go to, I don't know, 718 for example. And then all I have to do is hit confirm. And then guess what? I made changes to my set temperature. My set temperature just went from 660 to 718, and that's where the station is working to get the tip temperature to. So that was the set, changing your tip temperature. That's that icon. This plus or minus icon, I'm sure you guys remember when I went over the offset feature. That's that plus or minus icon. Same thing that you'll find on the station itself, right? I click on that. You'll be able to use the offset feature, the wireless auto cal feature, and do the same thing that I showed earlier by using the FG100B tip thermometer, right? You can do that and use the Hakko Control Software as well. All you have to do is measure the tip temperature, hit confirm, and it'll automatically adjust or auto cal your tip temperatures for you. Okay? And I'll show you again how we can do that in a minute once I get into the auto cal feature. The next icon is parameter setting. This is very useful. Once I click on that, you'll have access to a variety of settings. For example, I have the sleep menu. You can turn that on or off. Let's turn that off, for example. Right? And the timing and the sleep temperature. You can change all of that with the Hakko Control Software. The shut-off menu, you can again turn that on or off. So let's, for the sake of it, turn that off. You can also, make changes to the shut-off time, for example. Let's change that back to 30 minutes, for example, right? And then the error alarms, you can turn that on or off. Let's turn that on, keep that on. Let's keep that unlocked, and let's do the output mode, change that from power to normal mode. You can do the set temperature. Let's change that to an even, let's go to 710, for example. Offsets, you can change all of your preset temperatures. I changed the 530, right? You can keep all of that. Let's change it back to 520, for example. You can just do all of those changes to the system parameters, and you can do all of that through the Hakko Control Software and the parameter settings. I'm gonna, for example, change the preset number 1, say I'll turn that off, keep 2 and 3 on, and turn 4 and 5 off as well. And what you can do is once I hit confirm, you heard that beep. What it did now on the station, you saw that it says sent. What it did is it dumped all of that information to the station itself. So I just made all of that changes to the station itself. I didn't have to go, messing with the buttons. And if you want to make sure, for example, I turned preset 1 and 4 and 5 off. So just to make sure, I'll press the preset button, right? And right now I have preset 2, should be on, preset 3, but since I turned 1, 4, and 5 off, I only have 2 and 3 activated, right? So that's just to confirm that I've dumped all that information onto the station using the Hakko Control Software. Now, another useful way you can use the control software and the parameter settings is, for example, I have you can not only confirm, but you see these two buttons. There's load, save, and close. Close just closes out the parameter setting window. But if I click on the load button, it'll bring up another window. It says parameter setting, and it'll have the FX-805 parameter. This is something that I had previously saved parameters, and if I choose to open, now it just dumped all of the previously saved parameter settings onto my parameter settings. And all I have to do now is hit confirm if I want to dump that information into the station. So I hit that, and now all of my settings are back to what I had previously saved on the system parameters, right? Everything is presets, all of the presets are turned on. All of my preset temperatures are back to 500, 660, 750, 840, and 940 as I had previously saved. The sleep is on, the shutoff is on, and my output mode is back to power mode. So it's a nice, useful way you can grab and save one parameter setting from one station. You can save that, and you can move on to the next station and load that information and dump the same exact profile or parameter settings into station not only A, but B, C, B, C, D, E, G, F, whatever it is. You can duplicate the parameter setting from one station to another. So that's a real nice useful feature, right? It just makes your life that much easier. And if I close it out, let's move on to the auto cal feature. This is I believe it's another unique tool. I showed you guys earlier how you can auto cal using the FG100B and the FX-805 by using the auto cal feature. You can send that information automatically, and the station will automatically calibrate itself, right? I showed you guys that. I'll show that again. But here, let me use, instead of a T33, let me go back to a T37, just for the hell of it, right? And then I'm just gonna wait till it reaches temperature. But what you can do when you're using the Hakko Control Software and you click on this Auto Cal icon, by the way, you're seeing, the tip temperature rise right here, right? That's because I changed it from T33, T37, trying to get to its set temperature. But once I click on the Auto Cal button, you'll see another window pop up. And let me move this up right here. It says set conditions if required inside. What you can basically do is you can measure, you're able to measure, and not only measure, but you're able to save and record the AutoCal information onto your PC or tablet. So I'll show you how we can do that right now. So first thing you want to do is, it says condition settings. So it says set conditions if required and start. So let's set the conditions. On the bottom left-hand corner, it says condition setting. So I can click there, right? And then from here, you can set the actual tolerances of windows that you want your tip temperatures to fall within. Right now, 15 minus 15. So right now, I want my measured range to be plus or minus within a window of plus or minus 15 degrees Fahrenheit, okay? That's where you set this. The number of tries I have it set to 3. You can set, maximum of 3. You can set 1, 2, or 3, or 0 even. And leak voltage measurement and tip to ground resistant measurement. If you're using our FG-100B, which has that capability built into the 101B, you can turn that on. But in my case today, I'm using the FG-100B, which does not have that, leak voltage or tip to ground measurement capability. So I'm going to keep that off. And confirm. And here's how you start it. Once you have that set, you press start. Right, and it'll tell you after measuring the temperature, send it by infrared transmission. So it gives you the date and the time. So what I'm going to do is, if anyone is verifying tip temperatures, daily, at the start of the day or at the end of the day, once a week, whatever the case may be, use the FG-100B. I'm going to have the auto feature turned on again. And using a T37 tip, I will be measuring the tip temperature. So I'm just going to wait for the tip auto feature to stabilize. There you go. And I'll show everyone, different from the set temperature. And then I'm going to send this information wirelessly, right? Boom. And it's received it. And then going back to the screen, you see that it now says result, pass. And why is it pass? It's because it's within that plus or minus 15 range that I had previously set in the condition settings. Now, if it was outside of the range, it would say not passed, please measure again. And you would measure it again, and then it'll adjust itself so that it'll fall within that plus or minus 15 degrees Fahrenheit range. Now, I mentioned that all this information, if you're not using the control, you can do without using the Hakko Control Software. You can offset that temperature. You can do the AutoCal feature using the 101B with the FX-805. But what you can do by using the Hakko Control Software is that you can actually store that information and you can go back to it at a later date. And that information is saved here. You can go to calibration result. That's this icon here. You click that and it'll give you a different window, right? It says calibration result up at the left top corner, and you can select the date that you would like to see the calibration results for, right? And then you just click on the search button and it'll give you all of the calibration history that you have done within this window, right? Today is this date, and I've done all of this calibration dates on September 23rd, right? And if I click on one of them, say I'll click at the very top, highlight the top, you can see all that information on the very right hand side of your screen as well. You can see the handpiece, the tip type that I measured, the calibration date, whether it was pass or no pass, the set temperature, the range, the plus or minus 15, measure temperature before, measure temperature after, offset before and after, leak voltage. It doesn't show it because I was not able to show that with the FG100B. If you go to a different one as well, it'll give you just different measurements as you go through the different, it's pretty much storing that information onto your tablet or PC. Now you can also choose to, graph that information. You can get a graph of that as well. So, all of that information is nice, but I believe, our customers need a way to grab that information and save it, and to be able to go back to it on this, like a data file, like a CSV file, for example. Where can you find that information? So if you go into the Management tab up at the very top, it'll say File Storage Location. And this is where you'll be able to find the different, whether it be the parameter settings file, or the automatic calibration result file, or the tip sensor temperature files. You'll be able to find that. You click that, say for example in the AutoCal, which I just went through. I click on that, and it tells you, hey, this is where the information is stored, okay? So I click that, and all you have to do is go into your files, this PC, go into local disk, and then program files, right? That's where it told me where I can find it. And then it's right here, Hakko Control Software. Double click that. And under AutoCal Results, here it is. Double click on that. And there's one for the date that I was just working on. So I double click on that. And let me double click on that, and here it is. These are my calibration results that I have done on this day with these tips on this handpiece, set temperatures, temp limits, before, after temperatures, whether it passed or not passed. I was able to save all that information, not only on the Hakko Control Software, but it saved it onto a CSV format, so you can go back to it and take a look at it whenever you need to. Now you can do that not only for the AutoCal results, but if you go into, say, the parameters, for example, I was able to pull up the saved parameters. Right, these are all of the parameters that I have saved for that one particular parameter. And also, let me go back one more time. You can even save the live tip temperatures that I had previously saved. Now this was from previously graph recording that I recorded when I had my set temperature at 660. You can see 660, 660, 660, all the way, sometimes it goes to 658. You can store that information. That's the information, that's this part of it. When you hit record and stop record, that's when it'll dump it out into a CSV format, like I just showed you on that graph. Okay, so that's the Hakko Control Software that you'll get with the FX-805 400 watt station. you'll get that control software. It's all included now with the FX-805 software. It's not an additional cost to our end user customers. It's all included. Again, overall improved station, performance, soldering iron holder, and the control softwares all improved with the FX-805. The wireless offset feature, all of that included. Now, this station is going to be available, remember, October 3rd. Again, this is the first time I'm showing this to anyone, so make sure when October 3rd comes around, you guys check it out. Check out our website if you want a demo of this 400 watt ultra heavy duty FX-805 station. Make sure you reach out to us at www.HakkoUSA.com, or you can simply call us in. We like to hear from our live customers as well. That number is 1-800-88-HAKKO. Email us, support@HakkoUSA.com. So that was a long session. It was a lot of information to give to you guys, but I hope you found the information helpful. It's overall a great product that we will be releasing on October 3rd. And you know what? For the next time, maybe I'll cover another new product that, hint, that we might have coming along the way. So make sure you always keep tuned to our Hakko Tips news articles, and keep your eye on Hakko. For the next episode, remember, keep your eye on Hakko. I'll see you next time. Thanks.